myosin. The myosin and actin has one arrangement. The actin connected to Z disc, and myosin located between the actins. The number of the actin was 2 times of the myosin. The arrangement of the actin and the myosin produced the light band and dark band. Light band only contain actin, and dark band or A band contain actin and myosin. Each portion of one myofibril located between 2 Z discs we called the area that located between 2 Z we named. Does anybody can answer? Aslan, bravo. We said sarcoma. Thank you. You got 1 score with me. Thank you for 110. Yes, the sarcoma. And each sarcoma length is about. Does anybody know how much is the length of one sarcoma? The length of one sarcoma. Here. How much? Exactly is about 2.2 micrometer. Thank you for 107. Thank you for your answer. That was about for 2.1 micrometer. And then we talk about the actin and the myosin in structure, as I mentioned, and you can see one filament of the myosin. I say one filament of the myosin contain how much molecule of the myosin? This is one molecule of the myosin. This is one myosin filament. One filament contains several molecules. How much molecule does anybody can answer? How much molecule? Yes. 410 is correct, but 410 you got plus 6 protein molecule. Each molecule this is the myosin molecule. This myosin molecule contains 6 protein. Now, but this myofilament, thick filament contain how much molecule? 1, 2, 3, how much could you count? How much? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, how much? Could you answer? This is contain how much molecule? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how much? 200 molecule. 100 located one side, one molecule located other side. Yes, exactly. 200 molecule one side, 200, and each molecule contain a 6 protein. 2 heavy chain is wrap around each other, and at the end are free. It's produced head of the myosin. And the head of the myosin has the ATPase activity. That means it can break down the actin and change the structure for the contraction. And we have the light chain. We have 4 molecules of the light chain in the myosin. And how about the actin? The actin contains of G protein, the G globules. The globular protein. By the polymerization of the globulus protein around each other is produced one strand, 2 strand, wrap around each other, wrap around each other, produce the F strand of actin. F strand of the actin. The actin G protein. The G is the active side. the one side, the head of the myosin can bind by the actin and produce the contraction. So exactly, the head of the myosin can connect by the active side and produce the contraction, but we doesn't like the contraction anytime. So around of this active side is covered by the tropomyosin. We have in the actin, we have the tropomyosin molecule. The tropomyosin molecule, you can see tropomyosin molecule is covered about 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 active sites. 7 active sites. So doesn't allow the connection between the actin and the myosin. So one time we need for contraction, we need releasing calcium. The calcium should be bound by the troponin. Troponin is contain 3 areas: troponin C, troponin I and T. The calcium bind by the C and I am connected to the actin and T by tropomyosin. So by the calcium binding, it changes the structure of the troponin, so it's pull the tropomyosin, and so the active side, you can see the active side will be appear. Head of the myosin can bind and produce contraction. This is the mechanism of the contraction. And so you can see the arrangement of the actin and the myosin around here. For the contraction, we have the synapse between the actin and the myosin. At the end, we have the N-terminal, and in the N-terminal, we have synaptic groove. In the N-terminal, we have a lot of the mitochondria for the producing of the vesicle. In the vesicle, we have the neurotransmitter. What is the neurotransmitter for the contraction? What is the neurotransmitter for the contraction? Exactly, bravo 407. You got others bear with me. I am writing here all of the person answer. You have a score with me. Thank you for your listening and answering to me. Yes, we have a lot of the vesicle. We have a lot of 300,000 of the vesicle. 300,000 and vesicle at here, and each vesicle contains 10,000 acetylcholine. When the action potential reach to the end, the end of the axon at the ear, is cause opening the calcium channel, and by calcium is cause exocytosis of this vesicle. So we have release of the acetylcholine by the each action potential. All about 120 to 100 of this vesicle will be released. So it releases a lot of acetylcholine. Then the acetylcholine, by the releasing acetylcholine, should be bound by the receptor. What is this receptor? Is ion channel and nicotine channel. The name is nicotine channel acetylcholine receptor. It contains 5 subunits: 2 alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. Is permeable to the sodium. And I touched the last week until here. So we have the depolarization. What is the depolarization here? After releasing of acetylcholine from here, the acetylcholine is released from here. What will be happen? It's produce action potential. Is cause calcium. What will be happen? By the releasing acetylcholine, and by releasing acetylcholine, we can see at here, it's causing depolarizing. It's producing depolarizing. We have the nerve, synapse, and adhere. We have neuromuscular junction. Neurotransmitter is released. Opening of the ion channel, it's permeable to the sodium. You can see it's permeable to sodium. As sodium is open to the cell, enter to the cell, you can see it's causing a local depolarization. You can see adhere. It's permeable to sodium, and sodium by opening is depolarize the cell membrane. Not for action potential. Adhere, by the opening of acetylcholine, we don't have action potential adhere. The name of this depolarization adhere, we call this depolarization as a end plate motor end plate potential. The name of this area is motor end plate. صفحه انتهایی. End plate. You can see end plate. We have synapse, axon, muscle. This area is motor end plate. Motor end plate. You can see motor end plate. We have the action potential. No, we don't have action potential. We have a depolarization. What is the name of this depolarization? Is a motor end plate, motor end plate, motor end plate potential. We have the motor end plate potential. One of the more questions all the time in the exam is, for example, after depolarization, after releasing of the acetylcholine, we have the motor end plate. We have the action potential, yes or no? No, we don't have the action potential. Only we have the polarization. A little, it's make intracellular positive. It make intracellular positive. Why? Because by the interest of the sodium, it's make intracellular positive. And do you know what will be happen after this depolarization? Does anybody can answer? What will be happen after depolarization? What will be Colgate will be open? Calcium gate? No, it's not true. Colgate, no, it's not true. But you have the score with me, 410 for your answer. Thank you so much for your answer, but it's not true. Release AN and calcium open, no. And here, you can see here, acetylcholine release is causing the opening sodium channel. It make depolarization. You can see at here. End plate, you can please watching here. Look at here. End plate potential. End plate potential. At here we have a depolarization. It make positive from here. You can see from minus 90 is depolarized, and then here what will happen? You can find from here. After depolarization, what we have? What? After depolarization, it's producing I'm waiting for you. Please answer. After depolarization, we have in the cell membrane we have your answer is the calcium open. No, the calcium what will be occur later. No, the potassium out now. It's soon for the opening of the potassium. We have the other thing. 407, thank you for your answer. The other person, how about the other person? For under, yes, the gate opened the sodium channel. Thank you for your answer. I got other score to you for 107. Yes, it's causing opening the sodium channel. You can see it here. By the depolarization reach to the sodium. We have a lot of the sodium voltage gated channel. It's causing opening the sodium, and then by opening sodium, by entering sodium, it's causing action potential. You can see it here. Then it produces action potential. Yes, then it produces action potential. As remember in the first session, I talked about the action potential. For the producing action potential, we need the polarization. I said we need the polarization. We have a tertial. For the tertial, we need the polarization. The polarization only about, for example, 50 millivolt. But at here, we make a lot of cell depolarize. You can see it's make a lot of, we make about 60 positive. We make 60 positive intracellular. It make 60 millivolt positive. But we need a little make intracellular positive for the producing the action potential. By this reason, we need in the action potential, in the skeletal muscle, we have a safety factor, ethminon, factor ethminon. The safety factor is so high. Why? Why we have the safety factor is so high? Because for the contraction, all the time after order we need for the contraction. Not excuse me, I want walking in the street, I don't have the contraction. No, all the time in the response of order and the polarization, we should have the action potential. By this reason, by the releasing acetylcholine, the polarization is so high. Absolutely, we have the action potential. If this depolarization was diluted tertial or the decay, we doesn't have the action potential and the contraction. But all the time, if we want the contraction, all the time, the polarization is more the tertial, and so all the time we have the action potential. We never remember, I want the contraction, oh, I don't have the contraction. No, all the time we have contraction. Yes, so the end plate potential, the motor end plate potential have safety factor. Motor end plate potential has safety factor. Yes, the motor end plate potential has safety factor. What does it mean? All the time we have action potential in response of the polarization. Yes, all the time we have an action potential in response of the depolarization. So we have the one of my questions may be what is the safety factor? Safety factor is high or low? Okay, I have other questions. Please listen to me and answer to my questions. At the first, we have the releasing of the acetylcholine. We have the motor end plate potential, and after that, after if move reach, it produce action potential, and in the response of the action potential, what will happen now? in the response, and no, I can repeat my previous questions. And then what will be happening in response of the action potential? Please answer. And no, what will be happening in response of the action potential? Yes, right, thank you. The answer is so simple, not important. Everybody answer as they spoke with me. Get close potassium. This in the action potential we have the polarization, opening sodium and closing. And yes, this is the action potential. But after action potential, the action potential, what we have the action potential? Why we have the action potential? Why we have action potential? Yes, thank you. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for your answer. You got 2 scores with me. Exactly, it's true. And then we need to releasing calcium. Only this action potential is for opening of the calcium channel. But why at here we don't have the calcium channel? Why exactly from here we don't have the interest of the calcium? The calcium released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, not from the earth of the cell. My question is why the calcium should be released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, not by the exactly as from here. The calcium releasing exactly from here, not. If we produce action potential, this action potential should be move and reach to the sarcoplasmic reticulum, and then we have releasing of the calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. We can see from here. Yes, so we have the action potential. We have action potential. This action potential is causing releasing calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. You can see sarcoplasmic reticulum from the calcium from sarcoplasm, not directly enter the calcium from the out of the cell. It's releasing from the intracellular store of the calcium. Exactly, for fast contraction. Thank you for number 7. You answer all the time. It's good. Thank you. Yes, you can see if the calcium release from here, the contraction was so slowly, but you can see we have a cluster of the actin and myosin. By this reason we have the myofibril, a cluster of the actin and myosin. Around of this actin you can see the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So calcium release from here. Exactly, calcium release is causing contraction. But if, for example, calcium release from here is move, which from here, the contraction was so slowly. So the calcium release from the sarcoplasmic source. The source for the contraction, the source of the calcium for the contraction is sarcoplasmic reticulum. Yes, the source of calcium for the contraction is the sarcoplasmic reticulum. By this reason we have the myofibril, a cluster of actin and myosin, and around of this we have the sarcoplasmic reticulum is stored the calcium release from the here. But you can see we produce action potential here, the polarization is here, but you want to release calcium from here. I send the signal to the sarcoplasmic reticulum. I transfer this polarization to the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Does anybody can answer? I transfer the depolarization to the sarcoplasmic reticulum and say the opening calcium and releasing calcium and causing contraction. No, at here, after the polarization, This depolarization should be transferred here by the T-tubule. You can see at here, by T-tubule. T-tubule. What is the T-tubule? Is T-tubule. The transverse tubule. The tubule transfer the signal around the sarcoplasm. By this reason you can see the sarcoplasmic expanded here, enlarged here, and we have a T-tubule. Elongated tube called T-tube will penetrate from the sarcoplasmic called interior edge when they contract. So this depolarization moved to here, but we name this as a pteriod. You can see 1, 2, we have a pteriod. So at all, the depolarization will be moved. The cell membrane is moved all of the cell in the deep of the cell and transfer depolarization. The depolarization by a speed of the 3 meters per second. 3 meters per second rapidly is moved, reach all of this area. So all of this area will be depolarized by the T-tubule. So we can see at here. After depolarization, action potential. This depolarization by T-tubule reach to sarcoplasmic reticulum. In the T-tubule, we have a receptor for the voltage receptor, dehydropyridine receptor, voltage sensor. By the depolarization causing opening of the D is unchanging structure, and we have in the sarcoplasmic reticulum. We have the rhinodine receptor. We can see the rhinodine receptor. The structure of the rhinodine receptor change is causing opening the calcium. The concentration of the calcium intracellular is very low. The calcium concentration increase and reach to the 10 in the power of the 5, increase the calcium concentration, and then the calcium causing the contraction. Okay, so it produces the contraction at all. At the first, we have the releasing of acetylcholine. Depolarization, impelled membrane potential is moved by a speed of the 5 meters per second. Action potential is moved. It's going to deep of the mast cell by T-tubule. T-tubule is causing the polarization of opening the channel. Dehydropyridine and rhinodine receptor in the sarcoplasmic reticulum is open, is causing releasing calcium. At all, we know the source for the contraction is intracellular calcium, and then the calcium is bound by you can see the bind by the troponin, by the releasing of the calcium, by the releasing calcium bind by the troponin. The troponin is pulled from myosin. The active site will be active site, head of the myosin attached to the actin, and produce the contraction. This head of the myosin contact to the attached to the actin and produce the contraction, and then what will happen then after, and the ATP is binding, to the head of the myosin. When the ATP binds, you can see at here, when the ATP binding, there is causing the attachment, is attached. The ATP is binding. When the ATP binding is causing the attachment, ATP is not need for the connection. The ATP need for the situation the myosin from the actin, and there it has the ATPase activity. What does mean the ATPase activity? It can break down the ATP, produce the adenosine diphosphate and the phosphorylated. You can see ADP and phosphorylated. The phosphorylation causing the movement to the back head of the myosin. Head of the myosin move to the back. You can see is more such as spring, cook spring, so it can store the power. It's moved to the back, and then attachment it pulled the actin in the front. You can see here. We can see here. Head of the myosin by the ATP. It will be phosphorylated, it's moved to the back, and again attach is pulled the myosin to actin in the front, and causing the closest two ZDs to each other and produce the contraction. This action named the power stroke. Power, the head of the myosin back to the, it's going to the back, it's pulled to the front. We can see here, it's moved to the back, perpendicular, and again attach is so power, it's produced a power stroke, and again the attachment again all the time is moving. We call this the cross bridge cycle. This is cross bridge, the bridge between the actin and the bridge. Cross bridge, put it as the cross bridge, the cross bridge between actin and the myosin. So it's moved to the back, attachment again, we call the cross bridge cycle. Attachment, and we use the ATP. So at all, by the movement, troponin, head of the myosin attach. ATP is coming, it's causing the attachment, and again, it's break on the ATP hydrolyzes by the ATPase activity. It's ATP and phosphorylated is moving to the back and perpendicular amygdala actin, and it attached to the actin. So connect. It has a lot of the power stored in the myosin. It's pulled to the in the front. It's moving to the front, and again attachment. It produces the cross bridge cycle. So you can see adding here, the head of the myosin attached is pull the actin in the front, you can see at head of the myosin attached is pull the actin in the front, in the front, you can see the myosin attached is pull to, so it's causing the this is move, you can is attached is called. We name this movement, the head of the myosin is moving here. We name the walking along. That means the actin is moving from here. We produce the mechanism of the sliding mechanism. You can see here, this is moving, it will be closer to each other. So we have the sliding mechanism. The actin is sliding above the myosin. We have a sliding mechanism. It's pulled in the front. It's moving. This is moving, and so the mechanism is sliding mechanism of the contraction. And at all, the head of the myosin, the actin and myosin walking along each other, is walking over the actin and myosin each other, walking along mechanism. So that was the action and the mechanism of the contraction. Walking along theory. Attachment myosin to the actin, activate the enzyme ATPase. The myosin ATPase break down ATP energy. This energy used by polysaccharide to move the myosin head, leading to pulling and dragging actin, sliding of the actin myosin. The polysaccharide means The power strike mean the tilting of the myosin, cross bridge, dragging action. So we have the attachment is moving to the back, is pulled. The power strike. Okay, that was the mechanism of the action. And when the calcium is low, the calcium rapid will be removed and produce relaxing. That was the mechanism of the contraction. So, okay, action potential, the polarization, empathic potential by TT1, sarcoplasmic calcium, calcium bind sarcoma, troponin move, the active site appear, head of the myosin attached, ATP is coming, and is causing the attachment is again by the breakdown of the ATP and phosphorylated structure will be changed, so the power and attachment and pull in the flow, and again other ATP, the attachment and produce cross-bridge cycle. Okay, do you have any question? If you don't have question, I want to show you one movie about action potential. I want to show a movie about the action potential. Are you ready for watching a movie about action potential? Yes or no? Does anybody? Okay, thank you. So I want action potential. Please. Just 1 minute, please, to should find. Do you have the sound? من یه کاری بکنم این رو شیرش همونجا بذارم تو خودش پخش آره شیر اسکرین کردم از اون در اومدم شیر اسکرین کردم خب الان من شیر اسکرین رو تمام کنم چیزی میتونم میره بالا خب نمیشه استوب شیرینگ خب حالا من اینو بشه شیر داکیومنت خب برز مای کامپیوتر تو دسکتاپ بود این بود دیگه Okay, excuse me for the problem. Please be wait. I will fix it rapidly. It's not from the program. I'll fix it. Only I'll load it in the program. Yes, it takes time. It will be finished. It's ready. Only 1 minute later it will be finished. 60% loaded and چرا چی نداشته آره من خاموشش شد Okay, it's ready. I'll show you.
You use muscles every day to do activities. Breathe, circulate blood, and move her hand to take notes. Your cardiac and smooth muscle tissues are involuntary. You do not consciously control their actions. Skeletal muscle works under voluntary control. Skeletal muscles are
From the beginning.
You use muscles every day to do activities. This woman is using muscles to breathe, circulate blood, and move her hand to take notes. Your cardiac smooth muscle tissues are involuntary. You do not control their actions. Skeletal voluntary control. Skeletal muscles are composed of bundles of muscle fibers. Muscle fibers are long cylindrical cells containing several nuclei. Muscles will contract or relax when they receive signals from the nervous system. A neuromuscular junction is the site of the signal. This is where the synaptic bulb of an axon terminal and muscle fiber connect. Muscle fibers are composed of many myofibrils. A myofibril contains contractile units called sarcomeres. Sarcomeres run adjacent to one another down the length of the myofibril. Each sarcomere consists of alternating thick and thin protein filaments, giving skeletal muscle its striated appearance. The muscle contracts when these filaments slide past each other. The thick filaments are myosin, which are anchored at the center of the sarcomere, called the M-line. The thin filaments are composed of the protein actin, which are anchored to the Z-lines on the outer edges of the sarcomere. Because the actin filaments are anchored to the Z-lines, the sarcomere shortens from both sides when actin filaments slide along the myosin filaments. Although the action between the filaments is described as sliding, the myosin filament actually pulls the actin along its length. The cross bridges of the myosin filaments attach to the actin filaments and exert force on them to move. This action is known as the sliding filament mechanism of muscle contraction. In this model, the sarcomeres shorten without the thick or thin filaments changing in length. A contraction begins when a bound ATP is hydrolyzed to ADP and inorganic phosphate. This causes the myosin head to extend and can attach to a binding site on actin, forming a cross bridge. An action called the power stroke is triggered, allowing myosin to pull the actin filament toward the M-line, thereby shortening the sarcomere. ADP and inorganic phosphate are released during the power stroke. The myosin remains attached to actin until a new molecule of ATP binds, freeing the myosin to either go through another cycle of binding and more contraction, or remain unattached to allow the muscle to relax. Muscle contractions are controlled by the actions of calcium. The thin actin filaments are associated with regulatory proteins called troponin and tropomyosin. When a muscle is relaxed, tropomyosin blocks the cross-bridge binding sites on actin. When calcium ion levels are high enough and ATP is present, calcium ions bind to the troponin, which displaces tropomyosin, exposing the myosin binding sites on actin. This allows myosin to attach to a binding site on actin, forming a cross bridge. Calcium ions are stored in the sarcoplasmic reticulum and are released in response to signals from the nervous system to contract. Neurotransmitter molecules are released from a neuron and bind to receptors, which depolarizes the membrane of the muscle fiber. The electrical impulse travels down the T tubules and opens calcium stores. Calcium ions flow to the myofibrils, where they trigger a muscle contraction. As the actin and myosin slide along each other, the entire sarcomere shortens as the Z lines draw closer to the M line. As the sarcomeres in myofibrils contract, the entire muscle fiber will shorten. When muscle fibers contract in unison, a muscle can produce enough force to move the body, allowing you to take notes.
Okay, thank you for watching. If you want, I can repeat showing the animation. If enough, I am continuing my teaching. Do you want to watch again, or is enough? Okay, thank you for your watching. Please let me download again the continuous slide. Okay, as it will take the time. And after the contraction, we need to export the calcium out of the cell. The calcium rapidly move from the cell to out of the cell by the calcium ATPase, by the calcium sodium exchanger. Is moved to the sarcoplasmic reticulum by calciquestrin. It's stored the calcium in the sarcoplasmic reticulum, and then after calcium will be released in the for the contraction. Okay, please be wait. I download the slide because I move from the here to other slide. For the contraction, in the contraction we have a relation between the, do you know how I can change the power of the contraction? How I can increase the contraction? We have a relation between the length of the muscle and power of the contraction. We have a relation between the between the length of the muscle and the contraction. For example, by the stimulation of one muscle, we have a power. It can lift 1 kilogram. But other time, if we stretch the muscle, it can increase the power and lift the more weight. For example, 2 kilogram. My biceps muscle, one time it's lift 1 kilogram, other time it can lift the more kilogram. How is produced? It's dependent to length of the muscle. If I stretch the muscle, the power of the contraction can increase. How it increase the power of the contraction? How it can increase the power of the contraction? So it related between one of the way is by the nerve, but I have the other way. We can see one way for the contraction. Please, it's loaded. Please let me. I'll show you. It will be loaded. So we have, as you know, we have a relation between length of the muscle and the contraction. You can see at here. For example, we have the contraction in the muscle. In the muscle, we have a power, a force by contraction. If I stimulate the one muscle, it produces one force. If I stretch the muscle, increase the length of the muscle, the force of the muscle can increase 2 kilogram, 3 kilogram, and gradually increase. It increase the power of the contraction. We can see from the here. Why? Because we have the actin and the myosin. When we have the power of the contraction, the power of the contraction is produced by attachment of head of the myosin to actin. For example, at here, we have the power of the contraction. No, we don't have any connection between actin and the myosin. This is the Z-disc, actin, myosin. We need attachment of the actin to the myosin. We have the attachment between actin and myosin here. We have the attachment between actin and the myosin. No, we don't have. So the power of the contraction at the ear is very low. How about this? Is increased. At the ear, we have the more connection between the actin and the myosin. So the power of the contraction, you can see the maximum of the contraction tension we have at the ear. So when the length of the sarcomere, is 2 micrometer. When the length of the sarcomere is 2 micrometer, we have the more contraction. When the length of the sarcomere is lower than 1 micrometer, the power of the contraction is very low, is 0. So we have a relation between length of the contraction and the power of the contraction. If I pull the muscle, the contraction increase, you can see. The power of contraction increase and the maximum. When in the resting length, you can see, in the optimal resting length is when the length of the sarcomere is about 2 micrometer. And here the power of the contraction is higher. If I stretch more, it is very good, I can increase my power. No, gradually, if the length of the muscle, if I stretch the muscle a lot, it reduces the power of the contraction, decrease. By this reason, I'm showing my power. I want to change the position and increase the length of the muscle and increase the power. In the skeletal muscle, because the both side of the muscle is connected to the bone, we can not change more the length of the muscle. But in the heart is released. So it increase. We can increase a lot of the power of the contraction by the length of the muscle. This is the stalling. phenomena. The stalling, by the stalling phenomena, we can increase the power of the contraction. We have the relation, you can see again at here. We have the, you can see at here, we have a relation between the length of the muscle and when the length increase, the power increase, and then when we increase the length of the muscle, then gradually will be decreased. So at all, the power of the contraction can change by length of the muscle. All the time we have the contraction, the length of the muscle can change. I have one question. If I have the contraction in one muscle, I stimulated the muscle, the length of the muscle will be changed? No, thank you for understanding. You got a score for me, thank you. Yes, we have two types of the contraction. We have two types of the contraction. You can see, sometimes the muscle will be contracted, but the length of the muscle is constant. So we name this contraction as a isometric contraction. Isometric contraction. You can see, we have the contraction, head of the muscle is attached as it's moving, but the length of the muscle is constant. So at the ear, the power change, the power increase, the power of the muscle change. So we name this contraction isometric contraction. Another time, by the contraction, the power of the muscle is constant, but the length of the muscle can change. So we name isotonic. The tone is constant. At the ear, the length is constant, but the power change. So we call isometric. Met is constant. Met constant. The power, the force change, but at the ear is the isotonic contraction. What is the difference between the isotonic and the isotonic? The length can change. The length, the muscle will be shortened, and so at all we have to type up the contraction: isometric, isotonic. In which type of the contraction the length of the muscle is constant? In which type of the contraction length of the muscle is constant? Yes, it's isometric. Thank you. 407 and 410. You got a score or me. So we have two types of the contraction, isometric and isotonic. But when we have the isometric and isotonic, it doesn't explain in your book at all. We have two types of the contraction. For the contraction, we need ATP, energy. At the first, energy is need. Why? Because we need the ATP. ATP is need for the head of the myosin movement, for the action potential, for the exchange of the sodium potassium, for the moving of the calcium. We need the ATP. At the first, the ATP is provided by the ATP just only in the 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3 will be finished. And then after that, the ATP is provided by the creatine phosphate. The creatine phosphate is only by the 8 seconds. 1, 2, 3 will be finished. And then by the glycolysis, the glycogen, by the introducing the oxygen, by the glycolysis we can break down the glucose by the glycolysis and provide the ATP for the contraction. It takes 2 minutes, and then after we can provide the ATP by the phosphorylated oxidative for many hours. Oxidative metabolism can provide energy. Okay, my time is over. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I am at your service. Don't be hesitate for asking your questions all the time. I'm ready for the answering. My teaching is finished until type of the muscle, fast twitch and slow twitch. In the last week, I think it's maybe I finished the muscle, skeletal muscle, and then I will take exam. Okay, do you ready for taking the exam? Maybe every time you are ready, I can take one exam from the membrane potential and action potential. Okay. Half of my courses I can take the exam. Every time you are ready, talking with each other, tell me, and then I can take exam. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for your attention, and goodbye everybody. Goodbye.